Hey everybody, Edo here, and this is
Stonespine Architects
by Thunderworks Games. Now, I backed this on Kickstarter, but let it be known, I'm really good friends with Keith, who runs and owns Thunderworks Games. We've worked together on Pencil First Games projects. I'm a huge fan of his work. This is by the designer, Jordi Adan, who did Cartographers, which I love. So, I was all in on this even before playing it. And then I watched the Watch It Played of the rules, because that's a great way to learn rules. And I was like, oh, I'm all in on this game. And then I read the rules again in the game and we're playing it. I dig this game a lot. And let me just explain why. What we're going to be doing is this is a pretty straightforward set collection drafting game where you are building a dungeon. And players, based on the player count, yada, 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 are going to have cards that they're passing around the table. You're going to look at them. Each one's a dungeon room or chamber, a dungeon chamber, and you are going to pick one and play it and go around. Now, when you play it, we're going to be filling our dungeon, and we're filling our dungeon like I'm passing things around next round. But it's a year. During the first year, what we're going to be building through a series of hands that are going around, I pick one, the next person gets one, etc., building a dungeon one row at a time. So at the end of the first year, you will have one row done, and then at the end of the year, you'll have a second row, and it covers up, making squares, little magic. And by the end of the game, you'll have a 4x4 grid, and the game's over. And so that's the game. I mean, like, and you're just looking at 5 cards or whatever, depending on the number of players. We typically play with 4. But anyway, you're looking at the cards, picking one, playing it, passing around, pick, play, pass, pick, play, pass. Super simple. Okay, but what else? Well, what's going to be happening is there's a whole bunch of different types of set or guidelines. So each player starts with like a dungeon blueprint that's yours and hidden to you, and it tells you where your starting gate is, tells you where your exit will be at the end, and it says like, oh, in this corner you want to have a cavernous, or no, like a above ground chamber or a normal chamber. You want to have a trap. You want to have a gnoll or a kobold or a goblin in different, or money in different areas or whatever, a chest. And so the more of these you get, the more points you're going to get at the end of the game. So scoring number 1. There are going to be many different scoring lists, but this is scoring number 1. But what is always good about something like this is it gives you a guide. If you're new to playing, you're like, well, at least I can do is I can try to track this as I'm getting my cards. And, most part you can. Sometimes if you push it too far, you might not. But that's one type of scoring. Another type of scoring is, at the start of the game, there is just a general, global way of scoring. And this one is whoever has the most oozes in their dungeon. Got the oozes, and player with the most gets 15, 9, 5, split on ties, that kind of thing. Or both get it on ties. So you have those goals. Then as we play, each round, we'll go to a shop, we'll buy some things, I'll talk about that in a second, but at the end of your shop turn, you'll get another individual gold. And this one is gain 3 reputation. Reputation is what you're trying to win. Your victory points for each pair of gnolls in your dungeon. So like, you're building it out, you're getting, different types of set collection, and, that's the game. Super neat. So when you build, you're building out your dungeon, but then also you have gold at the bottom here. So in this case, after the first year, I'll have 2 + 2 + 5 is 9 gold. However, which you might not be able to see, the 2 of these places I've placed, chambers I've placed, have treasure chests, and each one is an additional gold. So I will get 11. But treasure chests are neat because on the next turn, when I put out more, you still add up all treasure chests in your dungeon. So that's building gold. In terms of, there's a priority system in terms of turn order, where basically you'll get it randomly at the start, but your turn gives you a certain amount of, small amount of starting gold, and then there's this gold track, and everyone adds up their stuff, and we see where everyone ends at once they've added up their gold. And then you have a market phase, and in this market phase, you spend, but what's interesting is the player with the most goals gets to spend as many times as they want until they're no longer the player with the most gold, and then somebody else can go. And until you pass and like walk away, you can't get one of these objective cards. So there's some nice tension there. In the market phase, we can buy stuff. We can buy treasure chests to add to our dungeon. We can buy monsters to add to our dungeon. We can buy traps. None of these, there's no heroes in this. Nothing happens, right? You're just building a space and doing set collection. You can get a hidden passageways that will connect regions and that kind of thing. So all sorts of ways you're like populating your dungeon, and then you're using it to get victory points. The last element in here is paths. Paths come into play for a lot of conditions that are sort of like a path that, your longest path that walks, moves past traps. However many traps are on your longest path, you're going to get points for that. The other thing is, and this was actually set up poorly, is you have your entrance and your exit. At the very end, you can't change around positions, but I will here. At the end of the game, the last scoring condition is you go to every single tile and you say, can this go to the entrance? If it can, it's worth 1 point. Can this go to the exit? And the exit, it's worth 2 points. So it's either 0, it can't go to anything, 1 point for going to either, 2 points for both. So if you happen to have an incredibly linked dungeon, maybe you use one of the hidden passageways to link, you could get a whopping 16 times 2, right? 32 points for just the tiles. And that's a big deal. I mean, because, the other victory cards might be 12 or 14, so it's worth 15. Anyway, lots of different scoring conditions, that kind of thing. So it just works. It's fast. It's easy. The math isn't too hard. It's fun to figure out your stuff. I like the choices. I think the artwork is well in line with all of the Thunderworks game stuff. I dig it. I think where the game falls flat, and so this is like a keeper, like this is positive, but like I think an area of criticism that I would agree with and say this game falls flat is it's a little bland. You have the different traps, you have the different monsters, they fit in the different quadrants of the cards, but nothing really happens. There's not a lot of variation. All the dungeons sort of end up looking the same. It doesn't have a real arc of theme or variability like in a tile laying game or card as tiles. It's like the opposite of cartographers, where in cartographers you feel like there's this dynamic thing going and it's never the same and you're building this out. This is just sort of like min-max set collection game. I love min-max set collection game, but I think that some folks might feel that it loses a little luster or feels a little on the nose, if you will. But I don't know. It's great. We're gonna play this game a lot. I dig it. Also, really nice. This is like a sub-insert to the big insert in the box. All the components are great. So I highly recommend checking this out, especially if you like drafting set collection pointality type games. Like this is it in spades. Oh, and you also get points for priority at the end of the game. So a variety of ways of sort of trying to be the victor. Anyway, this is
Stonespine Architects.
Hey everybody, Edo here, and thanks for watching Gaming with Edo. Reviews over here on this playlist, League and Insider videos over here on this one. Subscribe, share, all that good stuff. But most importantly, play some great games. Thanks.